All right, we got to talk little prize picks, best daily fantasy game in America. Play $5, get $50 instantly when you sign up and use the code STAPLES. Now, we are going to play a little guess the number here because PrizePicks has not put Cade Klubnik's number out yet for the Florida State game. But our guy Pete Nakos put out a story yesterday and put a tweet out with some stats that are just wild because we should have done the mystery player here. Like who's the only Power 4 quarterback to do this? Thrown for 12 plus touchdowns, have a 60% or higher completion percentage, and an average depth of target of 11 plus yards. So this is not a person doing this on super high confidence behind the line of scrimmage passes. This dude is airing it out. That's Cade Klubnik right now. Cade Klubnik, who after the Georgia game, you and I were both like, do they need to look at something different here? Cade Klubnik is killing it right now.
Yeah. And here's the thing with Clemson. A lot of their success in the past, most of their success in the past has been driven by generational college football, NFL quarterback talents. You know, I know Trevor Lawrence is struggling in the league right now, which I didn't see coming. I don't think a lot of people did.
No.
But their two national championship teams were led by Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. And before the playoff era and before the NIL era, Clemson was the only program to win a national title without having signed a top 5 class in any of the previous 4 recruiting cycles going into it. Like, they have been the biggest exception to the recruiting rule that has become, you know, the chief guiding star of my outlook on the sport. So, like, when they got Cade Klubnik, I mean, we're talking about a person that was held in similar regard to Watson and Lawrence at that point in their careers. And, you know, it didn't start off that way for him there. And it's like, now that Clemson lost to Georgia by a lot, you know, it is easy to fade back into the background as we're concerned with other teams who haven't lost yet. You're probably not watching Clemson as closely as you would have been if they were undefeated. And the guys out here racking numbers. And I'm starting to wonder, Andy, like, is Cade Klubnik starting to take that next step to become the game-breaking, game-changing, elite-level NFL prospect quarterback that Clemson has typically had there under Dabo?
It's entirely possible. I think part of it is they figured out how to use his legs, which he's very fast. You've seen him break off long runs for touchdowns, but also more just moving around in the pocket, which I think allows his receivers more time to get open. It extends plays. When they're dealing with better defensive lines, it should help. Now, here is the problem. It may be the defenses they were playing.
Sure.
Now, Florida State's defense is not great either. So let us figure out what the number is going to be for his passing yardage. I think his touchdowns will probably be a 1.5, more than or less than. And then they may have a little demon and goblin action with him.
It's usually 1.5 anyway. Like that, I think that's the right big guess there. Yeah.
But for his passing yardage total, so his games this year have been very interesting. Now, obviously, he was lights out in the Appalachian State game. He was 24-26 for 378 yards. Actually not particularly accurate in the Stanford game, but hit a bunch of explosives. So 15 of 31 for 255, which is 8.2 yards per attempt. But that means the ones you're completing are going a long, long way. So that's the question. Like, how accurate do we think he's going to be? Because if he's accurate, then we're talking, because he, again, the air yards stat that Pete threw out, I think is really interesting because, or the depth of target, because that's not normal in today's college football. Normal, the depth of target is like 6 yards. So the fact that he's chucking it down the field, that this offense is very vertical, and does it stay vertical against Florida State's defense? I think it probably can, because you're going to scare Florida State with Phil Maffa and that ground game. So we'll find out against more talented, like better talent on defense. We don't know this is a better defense than what they've seen. So I am going to go with 264.5. That is my guess at the Cade Klubnik number. And I think there's a chance he goes more than that, because you've seen this Florida State defense kind of wear out at times. And if that happens, then the pass rush dissipates. And the fact that they're moving around better, I don't know that the pass rush is going to get to him as much And that's when he was throwing interceptions and putting the ball in harm's way. I think he's in a much better place to play this particular defense now. So I'm going to say 264.5 is my guess at the number. I'm going to go more than. We'll see what the actual number is, but you know how I would feel about it when you see it.
Yeah, it's funny. We didn't talk about it. We knew we were going to play guess the number because PrizePicks doesn't have it up yet. It should be up shortly. Mine was going to be like 253.5. So I think that we were kind of like in the same general area there. And, you know, I think obviously too, like whether he eclipses that number is going to go a long way in telling us what, you know, he's able to do. Now, I know that like App State turned out to not be what we thought they were. And, you know, they haven't played a tough
route. NC State
here,
wasn't what they thought we were going to be either. So,
but I think
we just
lighting up Florida State, even if their defense isn't what we thought it was going to be, still probably is a nice indication that things are turning there. Like, we don't want to get fooled, but you know, the thing with Clemson too is that if we're not going to count this Florida State game as anything because they've lost a bunch of games and they stink, then like what's the best opportunity for Clemson on their schedule to actually prove they're able to hang? And that's part of the reason why I came up with the take after they lost to Georgia of like, you know, they could go win 10 or 11 games after this game and no one on the national level is going to consider them an actual national championship contender because they don't have anybody on their schedule that can test them. Now they're going to play Miami maybe.
Let's see what South Carolina does. Let's see what South Carolina does, because if South Carolina beats Ole Miss this weekend, if they beat Oklahoma, like all of a sudden you're looking at South Carolina very differently. And you're looking at them like more of a challenge.
Yeah, I'm seeing this on the chat, and it's probably true. It's like if you are a defensive outfit and your offense can't get a first down, like there's only so much you can do from a gas standpoint before you just let the dam break. And also, speaking of the dam breaking, they probably just don't give a damn anymore because they're not going to be in games. Like I think that defenses are super important.
We're talking about Florida State now.
Yeah. Did I not say that? Sorry. Florida State. I was thinking about Iowa last year, and that's how I have so much regard for Phil Parker's defense. Like they could have just given up. Like there's no reason why they should be fighting as hard because their offense can't score. And every single week they kept them in the game. So it's like Florida State's defense is probably better than we think it is, but hasn't been given an opportunity to A, rest or B, care, because there's nothing that they can do to stop the other team from scoring more than Florida State's going to score, which is like nothing.
Which could be a very big game for Cade Klubnik, because I hadn't thought about that particular piece of it. But you got Brock Glenn going for Florida State this week. I'm not even going to hazard a guess at his PrizePicks number. But I think Cade Klubnik's going to get the ball a lot. I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to rack up yards.
Yep.